I wanted to add a sculptural element to my little Christmas balls, and I thought I'd show how I did that, the technique I used. You could use a similar technique with air dry clay on a styrofoam ball, for instance, but this is ceramic clay, and I have slip cast the little balloon. Now I'll show how I put this. The tools I use are a broad flat brush, a smaller flat brush for dabbing the clay, detail brush for moving the clay around a little bit, dabbing smaller amounts, and a detail sculpting tool and a needle tool. Okay. So the first step is going to be to wet the area of the ball. Give it a little bit of a soaking without getting it too soft. I'm using paper clay to do the sculpting with, and that normally is pretty good at bonding, but still it will need to be going on a moist surface. And I'll dab it on, making a bit of a tree shape going up, or a straight line first, and then starting out with some tree limbs. Yeah, I got a little far on that one. And I'm making a mess, of course. And now to clean it up a bit. So I can scrape off the clay I put on where I don't want it. It's already dried quite a bit. So I'll need the detail brush to add a little water. What I do is I keep working back and forth between using a little water to keep everything moist, especially the underlying clay, and also using that to sort of erase clay where I don't want it. Got a little too much. And then I just go back to the sculpting tool and get the shape I'm after a little better. Need a little more clay in the... Once I get a basic tree shape, I just play back and forth with my detail brush and water and this sculpting tool to get the shape I'm after. Once I have that, then I can just add in a little bit of small scratches to make it look a bit more detailed. And that usually isn't too hard, but again, it takes a little patience, and I'll probably go back and forth 2 or 3 times doing this to make, a shape that I'm happy with. Add the detail in such a way that it looks tree-like. And sometimes for a little bit finer scratches, I'll use my needle tool. I usually work with something like this held close to my chest. I'm nearsighted and just find it easy to see the details and work with the details. A little hard doing it on camera. The paper clay is grey, but it will fire white. So the only way to have the tree really stand out is through sculptural details and maybe some paint later on. So now it's time to add in a little bit of snow for a background and a little bit of a tree trunk. Let's get use a little water to smooth that out. Help it bond to the clay underneath. And later I can use some very light blue shading and white underglaze to define it. The clay will fire white, but the underglaze will be a little bit whiter. And I can use some light blue snowflakes. I'll show a picture of one later in another video. Okay, so the last little bit, make a trunk for the tree. Maybe a bit more. Flatten him out a bit more. Some water on it, make it stick to the clay underneath. So a little water to make it stick a little better, and maybe a little smoothing too on that. So it takes me about 10 minutes, I think, to make a little tree like this. It's simple and there's not a lot of concentrated drawing or anything involved. And that makes a nice little additional sculpture-wise to the balloon. I like be doing a little something, and it has the advantage that it's fairly thin and light and, you know, not too thick. I glued on a few things that I had cast before onto these balls, and I didn't like the bulkiness of the result, but this works quite well. So on the other side, I'm not really sure yet. I either do a sculpture or sketch of a local scene, lighthouse, whatever, things that come to mind, and have the two sort of balancing, maybe the sketch and the sculpture, or maybe two sculptures. I hope you enjoyed the video and got a little something out of it at least. Thanks for watching.